Now, our final poet before the interval is Isabel Bermudez, who's returning to Dodo Modern Poets, I think for the second or third time now. And she's had a varied career. She's worked in state television in Sri Lanka and Colombia as a school teacher. And for the last 10 years, she's been teaching French, Spanish and English. And her first collection is due out from Flare Stack in July. So we're delighted to have Isabel Bermudez back here at Dodo Modern Poets.
Coming. So nice to see you all here. This first one, the first two halves, so the first half is going to be Columbia poems, the second half is going to be the English poems. This one was written after a visit to an English tea room. It's called La Hora del Té. In Bogota, beds would all be made, a wooden tray brought to the dining room, and Anita in the rocking chair, sitting among ferns and geraniums in a warm spot by the window. Go back further, to that world of long-gone afternoons, telling rosaries, reading, sewing, broken only at 4 by visitors. My mother looks wistfully into the future from this studio photo. My brother in that silver frame plays on the grass with 2 white rabbits. And I, who never came to England, never left, must be half listening to their conversation as I leaf through some old book which smells already, though I don't yet know it, of the past. In this English tea room, the girls pack up at the end of a long day, a rattle of plates, voices from the kitchen, then a robin with olive brown wings, the colour of the great aunt's skirts, suits and jumpers, flies in and startles us. Alights on china figurines of lads and lasses, blunders about into walls and ceiling, light striking dark wood, as they bring in the famous maids of honour, soaked in brandy, while French windows are opened by weary waitresses and air comes into this low, overheated room. We stir our teaspoons into our dark tea, the 3 of us who still remember, sharing this sudden happiness as it comes in late sun on last remaining tables, catching leftover crumbs, picking them up as the robin does before it's pursued by the waitress, who comes out of the kitchen, steps onto a chair in her pale blue shift, coaxing the bird and recalling that distant empleada in the aunt's house in Suba, who's standing on old furniture, broom in hand, chasing away cobwebs or wearing her pale blue apron beneath the overhang of bougainvillea, smiles at afternoon sun, carries a tiny thing in her cupped palm past our table to the open window. Thank you. The traditional day for celebrating Christmas is Christmas Eve in Colombia, and this one is called Christmas Eve. She came in and said, "I'm a little tired, for I've just murdered my husband." And so my mother, so far away in miles and years, utters the words my great-aunt Anita, alone in her last days, would also recall, leaning towards me conspiratorially. "Estoy un poco fatigada. Acabo de asesinar a mi marido." I see belatedly how it was, the little play unfolding, those children, my mother, her cousins, watching uncles and maiden-aunts, all in fancy dress in my great-grandmother's house in La Candelaria, among bloomers and petticoats, whisperings in the dark round the Christmas tree, baubles glowing, as tonight, after some young musical laugh, I understand at last how it is our ghosts come, quietly as white hair. As tonight, after some young musical laugh in the light of tinsel silver, I understand at last how it is our ghosts come, quietly as white hairs in the morning mirror. The title of the next poem is a real-life cafe in Earl's Court, where I spent most of my early childhood, and it means cafe of the locals. It's called Café du Coin. Café du Coin. The name's not fooling anyone. People come here from all over, to forget, or is it to remember, orange groves, banana trees. The same sickness lives in these faces, looking out at life through dirty windows, speeding by like lorries or the 31 bus, or slumped over cappuccinos, a pack of Winstons set beside them. A tale told in glass shelves of pastries from cold storage, fat-free muffins, croissants, pain au chocolat. Not quite Marseille or Paris, not local either. Next door sells the phone cards home, cheap calls to France, Morocco, Colombia, Nigeria. Here, as in the Donde Marielitas of downtown Bogota, where Gardel plays nightly on the gramophone to single men and middle-aged women. Like Laura del Té or Bougainvillea, the Café du Coin is a state of mind, its dark corners full of strangers as in sleep. A no-man's land, a terrain vague, where I too, from time to time, call in. I lived and worked in Bogota as an adult, and Birthday is set in the late 1990s. Birthday. There wasn't much to celebrate that year. A craze for fruit therapy, the rise of Generation Y, a villager from Simijaca hostage to a necklace bomber. The war was long in the tooth. Fighters forgot what they were fighting for, as old enemies forget what starts a never-ending feud. The land slipped into sleep. Things became more strange. A dozen soldiers blown up on their way to mend a road. Buses held to ransom. Paramilitaries, drug barons, guerrillas. Soldiers, civilians, politicians. Torture, hostages, threats, executions. But there was a birthday party in a city street for the 4th year of one hole in the road. A neighbourhood celebrated with smiles and beer, and there came a thin smell of hope that peace might not be too far away, that it might outlast candle blowing and cake cutting, live long enough for the roads to be mended one by one, for the canker to wither and die, that the war, poised so long like a hurricane over this tent of earth, might spend its force elsewhere, spin on its heels, pack up and move on. Now, I came back from Colombia after another long absence, and this time 15 years, just in February this year, and this is a poem that comes from that visit, Guadua Country. It doesn't feel strange to buy chorizo from a flower shop, or drive past this sign saying, "We do not sell pigs." Leder's locked up in the US. His drug cartel finca is a burnt-out ruin, empty these past 10 years. The outhouses where he kept his animals loom like a dark vision. The botanical garden is tremulous with orchids. There's a quiet museum full of rocks where no one goes. And heliconias, tall and red, flames or bell towers, rise above fast-creeping green moss, near where the hummingbird has made his nest, a cotton ball on the underside of a low palm. He's free like us to come and go, while the blue butterflies, pinned and kept under glass, barely appear at all. Instead, the air is full of stick bodies on transparent wings, inside and out of an airy butterfly house. The thrust of flower wattle and all this tropical bamboo, turned to vessels for storing wine and cooking spoons, for trays and ornaments, and jewellery boxes to keep time. The Guadua's bony figures, their skulls crafted with the years, sigh in breeze and tell these memories of life and death and heliconias. Neither magic, nor realism, nor life lived backwards. In Guadua Country, just the way it is. Thank you.
Isabel Bermudez, the Colombian poem. So more applause for Isabel, please. So that very